Well, I'm here in the Massey. Well, I'm here in the Massey Ferguson 1105, and it's a cold, rainy day on the farm. January 1st, uh, 2021. Kind of short notice on the live feed, and don't know how many people are going to show up, if anybody's going to show up. Let's see, one person on. If you have any questions, feel free to type them out. This live feed stuff's kind of new to me, so even I don't uh, even I don't know what's going on. So if you got a question, send it out to me, and I'll be glad to answer it. And we get a few more people on here. We might talk about uh, what's going on at the farm, and maybe talk about the year end. I'm gonna try to. I got my iPad here. I'm gonna try to get this on my phone so I can kind of see what's going on with it too. Hope everybody's ready for 2021. 2020 was kind of a interesting year to say the least. Oh, let's see here. I see one person's on. Two people are on. Who's out there? I can't really see who's on and who's not on. So just sitting in the Massey Ferguson 1105, and this is one of these days on the farm where it's just really cold, and uh, it's just cold and rainy. It's just been raining uh, all day, and I think it may have rained last night. And right now the temperature is probably about 36 degrees, and uh, it's just cold enough to make it miserable, but it's warm enough to make everything muddy. If we had a scale, um, if we had a scale that would tell us what the mud potential up here, it's getting right up to the out of 1 to 10, it's getting up close to 10. And back in the day when we fed cattle out in this field, uh, we had a Ford 3000 tractor, and we'd go out through that field with it, and the ruts would start getting pretty deep where we'd come in off the old barn. Might be able to see the old barn from back here. Field Farms, how you doing? We had a pretty good hay season. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit if you hang with us. But the building, if I can make that building right there was a chicken house, and then that was the original barn. And we would haul square bales of hay out of there, and they would we'd make our way out in this field and feed them out. We had to spread them out to keep the cattle from bedding down in them, and but we'd get some pretty good ruts. It would just freeze and thaw, and it would freeze and thaw, and And so we would get going, and then we'd go off this way or that way to get off the entrance of the gate, so we could kind of stay out of the mud. You know, the interesting thing was back then we still don't have a 4-wheel drive tractor up here, but you know, we had mud and snow, and of course it was open station tractor, but never really thought about a 4-wheel drive tractor. And actually, back in those days, there was there was a few. There were very few 4-wheel drive trucks, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Trying to read the a comment and talk at the same time. It's kind of like chewing gum and walking. I don't know if I'm good at that or not good at that. But in any event, there just wasn't a lot of 4-wheel drives around, including trucks. You know, if it was a 4-wheel drive, it was an International Scout, and a Jeep. Occasionally you'd see I guess probably around 75, 76, we started seeing, a lot of 4-wheel drive trucks, and then the Jeep craze kind of hit there in the 70s. But anybody have a question? I'm not going to give up all the answers, but I'd be glad to field a question. I think somebody asked how our hay season went last year. Actually, we had a pretty good hay season. We still got a fair amount of hay left over. I made a push to sell as much hay as I could before the end of the year, and yesterday we sold a fair amount of hay out of the barn. And I'll probably do a hay update video next weekend. One thing, we're probably going to slow down on the videos a little bit. It's not anything bad or anything like that, but it's somewhat time consuming, and from I don't know how it is, where you guys are at, but it's funny because to me January 2nd to Easter, there's no holidays, and in many ways it's like hard labor until you get to Easter, and then you have a little break, and then it seems like once you get out into Memorial Day, 4th of July, things kind of click along pretty good. How's your hydraulic pump? Are you talking about on the Massey Ferguson here? If that's the case, yeah, it's fine. Knock on wood, it seems to be okay. Any other questions you might have? Not exactly swamped with viewers at the moment, so I'm using an iPad, and it's here we go. Now I can see. Please, that's your hydraulic pump. Oh yeah. So anyway, I think we had a pretty good hay season. We had, we've got some hay left over. The nice thing, I don't know if you can see my barn, the white building over there. Nice thing about that barn is, unlike our older buildings, and we had some dome shelters with tarps going across them. I used to use these billboard tarps, and they would eventually blow off, and it usually happened when you needed it the least. I know one time I had a tractor up here, and I just kind of wanted to keep it out of sight for really no good reason, and I parked it in one of my dome shelters, and I came up here few days later, and thing was all blown off and sitting out. You could see through in that dome shelter. Looked like it was on a dealer's lot. So glad to have the new barn. And but I said all that to say this. We can hold hay, considerable amount of hay. If we didn't sell another bale of hay, we could maximize whatever hay potential we have up here for the next summer, and still uh, probably wouldn't fill up the barn. We might have to park some equipment outside, but it's really nice, having that new barn over there. It's just made it's made the ability to withstand, the market, the hay market, which ebbs and flows. This year we had a lot of rain, and so we made more hay than we have made previously, and you know, but everybody else made a lot of hay too. So in our area, probably within 100-mile radius, there's a glut of hay, and as you can see on our videos, there's a lot of mountains all around, and these customers, they don't want to drive over these mountains. A lot of these customers don't want to drive 10 miles. It's just kind of out of the way. But on the other hand, I'll see them, some of these, and also some of these customers complain about price, and I'll see them, Tractor Supply buying these sandily, I don't know how you pronounce it, but these compressed 40-pound bundles of hay for like $20, and then they'll complain about our price. But I will say that our repeat customers, and for the most part, the customers that we have, with horse hay, that's typically what we that's typically what we sell, and but most of our customers are really good, and I reached out to some of them. I reached out to some of them the other day and said, "Hey, I want to sell as much hay as I can. I know you're probably going to need some more." And several of them came through. I was very pleased with that. So next year, what's to come? Probably be chatting about that some in future videos, but I think I'll have a hay update video out at my barn probably sometime next week, and then we'll see what comes of that. But I think you'll see. I think you'll find that my barn is the number of bales in it have gone down, and I got a hay customer coming tomorrow. I hope it's not going to be too muddy, and he's after goat hay, cow and goat hay, and he's been a good customer. He bought a fair amount of hay off of me last year, and he's got a few cattle, and he's got some goats, and he's not looking for the high end fancy stuff. He's glad to take our bottom bales, or a bale's a little misshaped. Uh, he'll take those, and we'll cut him a discount on the price. Helps him out. It helps us out. And but we moved away from pallets uh, in a big way really last year. We've been stacking hay on pallets to kind of keep it up off the ground, and we put tarps down under the pallets, but these, I don't know, wooden pallets just don't seem uh, the same quality as what they used to be, and they crumble and they leave nails everywhere, and I just didn't want to fill up my new barn with nails, and so last year we tried just putting some tarps down and then putting a layer of hay on top of that, and it seemed to work pretty good. And we'd get a little bit of, some bales might be a little dusty on the bottom, but for the most part, the bales, we'd pull them up and look at them, and they were in pretty good shape. So this year we just took all the pallets out of our barn, and I even had some plastic pallets, but even sometimes you'd have a little mold issue with a plastic pallet because they just don't breathe. And so we took all the, hey, I'm doing pretty good. Icon sees Mr. No. I'm doing pretty good, but we pulled all that, pulled all those pallets out, and we're using tarps. But one thing I want to do is if I have square bales left over, particularly these, bottom bales, cow and goat bales, I'm gonna put those down and stack hay on it next or this year. It's this year now, and that way, nothing we cut, hopefully nothing we cut and bale in 2021 will be a bottom bale, and we'll just leave that. In our old barn, there's a layer of bales on the bottom where they're not stacked in the loft. There's a layer of bales where I think some of those bales have probably been on the floor since my grandfather was living. And so Cole Heiser, thanks. Happy New Year to you. I thought I saw a little bit of ice out earlier. It's getting cold enough to make it stick. They were calling for some freezing rain. Haven't I haven't seen it yet, but I'm getting to the age where I don't care too much for freezing rain and snow and ice. I kind of like warm weather. I just don't like it to be too hot. So we're hoping that we can just, all of our bales we bale this year, we can just put on these leftover bales, such that we won't make a bottom bale to go in our barn. And I'll tell you that the hay market has been real tight in terms of trying to sell because of the glut. And I think in some of my videos I've talked about we do forage testing on our hay, and our hay typically comes in low in sugar, and sugar being defined as ethanol soluble carbohydrates plus starch, and you add those up, less than 10%. And that's what the people with horses that have metabolic issues like insulin resistance, Cushing's, laminitis, and we've sold probably 90% of our hay that we've sold has been to those people, and that has really saved us this year with the glut of hay. People. I'm telling you, there are people around here selling hay for $3 a bale, and some of them are probably taking less than that if you buy more than 10 bales. They'll and but our prices are still holding. We're not cutting our price at all. We're also not increasing the price of a bale into 2021. I know some people. I know of some people that won't sell hay until the first of the year. They're waiting on the supply to dry up, and then they put their hay up. This year's been a little different. There's so much hay out there that people are cutting the price. I think they're just trying to get it out of their barn. I know in our old barn, the I know in our old barn, uh, it's it's the space was limited, and there was one time in particular we got down to where I was afraid I wasn't going to move any hay out, and I actually gave some hay away to a farm that deals with veterans with post-traumatic syndrome and things like that. And they needed some hay, and I had it, and I donated some bales to them. But a week or two later, the phone started ringing off the hook, and I needed, I could have sold that hay. But one of the questions I just got was, how much does it cost to test the hay? Well, we use Equianalytical, which Equianalytical is part of Dairy One out of Ithaca, New York. And we use their test. It's called a Trainer 603, and there's wet chemistry and dry infrared analysis. And these horse people, they like the wet chemistry. They claim it's more accurate. That test is about $67. And so on a field like this one, we'll do one test, and then we'll do one on the other fields. The fields have to be big enough and yield sufficiently to, to spend the money on a test. And but I can show the customer that those test results, and they're favorable, and they'll come. Sometimes they'll come, hundreds of miles to buy our hay. So this year with the hay glut, it's been especially a good thing. Let's see here. Anybody have any other questions? I'll be glad to answer them to the extent I can. Like I said, today's been kind of a lazy day. It's been cold and rainy, and I got a lot of things to work on. I got some hay wagons I want to build. I got some hay wagons that need propped up, and I got a couple of rakes, roller bar type rakes that need a little bit of work. And my latest video before this live chat is a international cub cadet. I need to kind of get going and move it out from where it's sitting. I think that part of the barn's about ready to fall in, so I'd like to move that thing out. And we'll have videos on cub cadets and wheel horse, lawn boy, push mowers, chainsaws. I kind of make a hobby out of tinkering with old garden tractors and power tools, and it's just kind of nice tinkering with that stuff. It's something I enjoy, and I probably need to get rid of some of those garden tractors. I've got several, but they're when I bought those things, they were plentiful, and I guess they still are, but they're not. I'm not sure you can grab up a cub cadet or a wheel horse quite as easily with as low of hours as what I've got on mine. So I'm just inclined to keep them. I liken those garden tractors and old chainsaws and such as I liken them to good books that have chapters that aren't read yet, and they're just sitting on the shelf waiting for me to kind of read them. So I'm kind of reluctant to just give up on my cub cadets and wheel horse garden tractors. There's the dashboard on my Massey 1105. This tractor has multi-power, and right over here, that's the PTO. This steering wheel's telescoping. It'll come out, and it's also it'll tilt. And then over here, you got your high-low range, park, reversed, first, second, and third. There's your throttle, and of course all your gauges. Right there's the fuel shutoff, and then on the right side is your hydraulic lift, and your position controls are over here. Here's your hydraulic remote. So I've got a jumper in here. I've actually got a jumper in here. This is a Schumacher. I just bought this thing. I'm going to do a video on it. And it's a lithium ion type jumper, as light as a feather. And the only reason I got it out here is if the battery looks like it's going to go dead on my phone, I can plug into it. It's got a USB port on it, and or on my iPad here. Sometimes these iPads and iPhones, when you get them out in the cold, particularly without a cover on them, they'll go dead just like real quick. So we got to put down some fertilizer. We've got to get our herbicides together, see what we got left over, and This is January, February, March. The first part of March, I'll start fertilizing, and I don't spray. I wait till the grass comes up a little bit before I spray. Uh, we don't have any residuals. In Virginia, there's a great herbicide. I think it's pretty good. Grazon Next, and but in Virginia, you're not allowed after you spray. You're not allowed to take the hay off the field or off the farm for 18 months. And but that stuff will really clean up a field. However, if you go down to Tennessee, they don't have a problem as long as you tell people that stuff has been sprayed. But it's got a residual, and it just kind of keeps working, and then you feed it to your cows or your horses, and it continues to work right on through the manure. And people take the manure and put it on their gardens and flower beds, and the next thing you know, their beans are dying, and they don't understand why. Well, in Virginia, it's 18 months. But if you're in Bristol, Virginia, it's 18 months. If you step 1 foot across the Tennessee line to Bristol, Tennessee, you can sell hay right away. So I don't quite understand, but it would be a very effective herbicide up here. So our herbicides are non-residual. We use 2,4-D, straight 2,4-D. We use a really good herbicide. I like it. It's called Weed Master, and there's a generic of it, and I forget the name of the generic, but it's part 2,4-D, and it's got a little bit of dicamba in it, and it really does a number. It's a really nice herbicide, and then probably the number one herbicide we use that in terms of just effectively giving just cleaning up your fields is Pasture Guard by used to be Dow. I think the company name has changed, but Dow, this Pasture Guard, I think 2.5 gallons is like $350. But you use you might use a pint to an acre, so it goes it stretches out fairly good, but it'll really clean up your field. I had a problem with these fields one time with a woody plant called tick trefoil, and I had to reach out to an extension agent from Virginia Tech to figure out what this was, and he was the one that suggested Pasture Guard, and then I read about it around on the internet, and I tried that stuff, and I'm telling you, it transformed these fields. And so we rotate it. We don't use it every year. We try to rotate our herbicides around a little bit, and we try to. I suppose there can be some resistance you could develop with some of the herbicides, but right now my top three herbicides are Pasture Guard, straight 2,4-D, and this Weed Master, the generic of the Weed Master, and it's reasonably priced, and we get that from southern states. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what the equivalent of a southern states is. Up in the northern, Ohio and Michigan. I don't know. But maybe there's a northern states store. The one thing we don't have around here that would be nice, there's one probably about 90 miles away, is a Rural King, and I think they sell a fair assortment of herbicides at some pretty good prices. We have a Tractor Supply. Our Tractor Supply is pretty lame. I used to go in there all the time and pick up some kind of trinket or some kind of tool, but I've kind of got to a place where there's not a whole lot I need from Tractor Supply, and they've cut out a lot of farming stuff. I think it seems like Tractor Supply is more geared towards there's a lot of people, and some of them are our customers, and they have a couple of goats, or they have a horse, and they need bags of feed, and they need little or big pans to put all that stuff in, and then they buy the Carhartt apparel, and hoses and things like that. We really don't need a whole lot of stuff from Tractor Supply, and so I used to go in there all the time. I don't go in there too much. I've been to a Rural King. I don't know a whole lot about them. They in some ways they strike me as a big Tractor Supply. Uh, I think that I would still like to have one. Another store that we don't have around here that I wish we did. We have Lowe's and Home Depot, but I'd like a Menards. I'd like to have one of those things around. But I think the closest one to us, as the crows fly, is on out into Ohio. But North 40 is Farm and Fleet. Yeah, I've heard of Farm and Fleet. I've heard of the Farm and Fleet stores. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if they're kind of like a Rural King, and but yeah, that's another thing about the co-ops. Sometimes, and this was a big problem. You know, I'm not a I'm not a Walmart to me is not the enemy, but they're not exactly the friend either. And same thing with Lowe's and Home Depot. But there were a lot of mom and pop stores around here that were open, 8 to 5, and closed. They were either closed on Saturday or all weekend, or they was open Saturday until noon. And a lot of times we have day jobs here, so a lot of times you can't get in there till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and these other stores were just not open. And sometimes I think it's not all about price; it's about availability and hours of operation. And I get it. A lot of these small businesses can't operate 24/7. Just like this farm, people say, "Can I come on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock?" And they're retired, and I'm still working. And I'm like, "Well, no, you can't come. I need the day job is still the bread and butter. Farm income is nice, but we'd be in a world of hurts if I didn't have a day job from a financial standpoint. Really, insurance is a big thing. But so I think some of these stores probably benefit from just their ability to be open so late. So we're anxious to get started on haying, and we've got a lot of projects lined up. It's been this 2020 has been an interesting year. I don't know if anybody out there has been affected by the COVID. I know on my day job, 3 times I've been sent home because the first time, and when I say sent home to work from home, the first time was they just were trying to space out people in the office, and and so they sent me home to work with a laptop. And then the second time, one of my boys actually got COVID, and he lost a little bit of his taste, and then he had sounded like he had a little bit of head cold, but it didn't stop him from going deer hunting and sitting in his deer stand all day. And he mowed some grass. And I was pretty sure, from uh, a keeping things clean standpoint, and keeping you know infected hands and uninfected hands off the same thing, that if he ran the push mower, it was highly unlikely. All right, I'm back. I don't know what happened. Well, actually, I know what happened. Uh, Actually, I know what happened. The iPad died on me. So if you're still here, thanks for hanging in. It just abruptly ended. So I've got the iPad now plugged into my Shimano jumper, and hopefully this thing will last a while. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna go, but hopefully I was talking along pretty good there, and it just it just up and died. I don't know. You know, my pastor, he preaches or preached that the computer giveth and the computer taketh away. And there's a lot to be said for that. So, anybody have any other questions? I'd be glad to answer most questions here from the camp on the Massey Ferguson 1105. Uh, Auxiliary powered by my Schumacher lithium ion charger. This thing is 1,000 peak amps. And the one thing it won't do, I've read this, and I think I've encountered it. One thing it won't do is it won't jump a completely dead battery. But like I said, it is light as a feather. You know, it's as light as a feather, and you know the lead acid jumpers are not so much so. All right, well, I think what I'm gonna do is wrap things up. Uh, Appreciate you being on here, and kind of a short notice live chat. Thought about doing just a regular video today, but uh, thought I'd just climb up here in the cab of the Massey Ferguson and do a video. So hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry about the interruption, and probably be a hay update. I'm not sure when I'll put that up, but probably next weekend maybe. I might have something in between. I'm not sure, but appreciate if you subscribe, hit the like button. Uh, Feel free to comment, and we'll talk to you later.